Okay, well, we're back on our next segment. We're going to talk a little bit about the aquaponics system in here. And it's part of the energy management, it's part of the biodynamic, it's part of the whole environment, part of the aesthetics, part of, you know, the whole greenhouse. It's integral. And what aquaponics is, for those of you who haven't seen other YouTube videos, it's another thing that I copied off YouTube videos that I can't take credit for, but it's really cool. And it's basically a combination of aquaculture, which is growing fish, and hydroponics, which is growing plants in water. In hydroponics, you take a bunch of nutrients, they're usually processed nutrients, and you put them in the water, and there's several different ways that you can get them onto the roots of your plants. What we're using right here is a bed. It has, well, okay, so in hydroponics you do that. In aquaponics, you're using the water that the fish live in. They do their thing, they eat, they excrete, and they produce their off products. There's a lot of nitrogen, a lot of good things that the plants like in the water that the fish live in. So you use that water as opposed to adding nutrients to the water. You use the fish water and you pump that onto your plant's roots, and your plants love it, they grow. So the fish, they basically excrete, and they excrete a lot of ammonia. Now in the plant, in the grow bed that we have here, we've got a couple things. We've got 3/4 inch gravel that we pulled out of the front yard, washed it up, and just tossed it in. The other thing that we have is hydroton. Some people call it hydroton. It comes from Europe, I think it's from Germany, and I believe it's an extruded shale that they heat up a shale, a clay, and drop it down probably through a tower and let these little balls harden up, and that's what you get. It's a media that's designed for growing hydroponically or aquaponically. So what you do is you take the water from the fish, you pump that into this bed right here. This is a bed, it's roughly 2.5 feet by 5 feet, and it's roughly 6 inches deep. So you take the water, you pump it up through here. Living on all of these stones right here are a grip of bacteria. It's a denitrifying bacteria. That bacteria does the first stage processing of the fish waste. And what it does is it converts the ammonium into nitrites. And then the nitrites down into nitrates. Okay, I'm not a scientist. That's just what I've heard. So it's something like that. Anyway, they process it down into nitrates that are a form that the plants just love. There's a lot of micronutrients and stuff in there also, but basically the nitrates are what the plants like to grow on, and they're thriving, as you can see here. This bed right here is fairly new. It is right now, we put it in service on the 2nd of January, so it's been about 5 weeks, roughly 5 weeks. Everything that we put in here was, you know, about that tall. These guys right here we took out of our grow trays that we were growing microgreens for salad in. The tomatoes we yanked out of their home over in the bed behind where we're filming right now. Washed the roots out, stuffed them in here. The different lettuces and whatnot that you see growing, same way, we yanked them out, poked them in here. They took about 10 days before they kind of got kicked back up, and then they just started growing like crazy. We've got a plethora of things in here. This right here is a squash that was started last year. It was just about dead before we got the energy management systems going. In fact, I had written it off as dead. I took a vine and stuffed it in here, and it just went down. It's got some blossoms down here, and it actually has fruit right there. I pollinated the blossoms the best I could with the little paintbrush, and we've got a little baby cucumber growing right there, so we're pretty happy about that. You know, several kinds of lettuce. This is a water celery. Not sure exactly what it is, but I got it out of a pond. A lady gave it to me out of her pond. Sunflowers. We got our tomatoes going here. We've got some root crops. The root crops don't seem to do very well in here, but the green leafies are going crazy. We've also started some seeds recently, like about a week ago. We just took some rock wool and tossed some seeds in it, and just set the rock wool in here, and let the water soak up into it, and they're going. I think they'll do just fine. But the basics of this system right here, it's a flood and drain, or a tidal system. And what that is basically, there's always a small pump running, pumps water from the fish tank into this bed. And it starts out down here. As the water comes up, it's got a bell drain. You can look at YouTube and see lots of examples of bell drains. Ours is kind of covered right now, so we're not going to go over that. But it's got a very, very simple bell drain with a Gatorade bottle.
Very high-tech device.
High-tech stuff here, guys. Gatorade bottle is the heart and soul of this guy. And let me get that back in there. What it does is fills up. When it gets to the top, drains out. Fills up, drains out. We might cover that later in detail because it's a really, really, really cool system. Again, not something I can take credit for. I just kind of copied it, but it rocks. So what happens in here? Fills up. Plants get the nutrients. Drains out. Plants get the oxygen. And this system right here is doing it about 4 times an hour. About every 15 minutes, it's filling up and draining out. We're going to try to catch that. If you look over here, you can see the drain. It drops out of the grow bed into that little, I don't know what you want to call it.
Little waterfall.
Little waterfall, and then that drains down into the fish tank. When that happens, it'll drain really hot and really heavy for about 2 minutes, and then it's done, and then there's no water flow. So in the fish tank, we've also got a bubbler going. I don't really think that's necessary. We've been experimenting it, turning it off. Now that the waterfall's in place, I really don't think the fish need it, but we've still got it running for right now just because, we've got a lot invested in these fish and we don't really want to lose them just for doing something stupid. So it's running. And inside here, can the camera see that?
Yep.
We've got about 65 fish. And the fish are kind of hiding from us right now because we're using an artificial light source. But during the day, they're pretty happy and they come up and play, and they're eating and doing their thing and producing nutrients for the plants. So that's an aquaponics system. Highly recommended. Anybody that can do one, set one up in your living room, set one up in your backyard, in your greenhouse, whatever you can do. They're awesome. Really, really fun.